What up? What up? I don't know if I'm going live yet. Let me double check. Check, check, check. Check one, two, check, check. See, go to live. Excellent. Start. Dun 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 dun. Check, check, check. Okay. Schedule to start in a few, and then just the Insta card valuation. I wonder if this is it. Dude, where's the Oh, this is such good. Ah, here it is. God, love this chart. Points of valuations. Check. This was check, 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 check. What up, everyone? Can you hear me? Check 1 2 1 1 1 1 2. Well, I cannot hear myself, but we go. Like that. Get this there. A little that action. Drink from my Stanley. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Thanks. Look. We're gonna go live in a few. Just waiting. Just waiting. Check, 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 check. And we are live. Let me just double check this. Put it in live cut. Checking the analytics. Okay. I believe we are live. So, welcome everyone. Welcome back. We are going live. Hope y'all are having a wonderful Saturday. And yeah, I think there's some interesting stuff. Okay. Yeah. So, welcome to another episode of This Week in Crowdfunding, where we cover the latest news that's going on in the crowdfunding industry. Now, this episode I'm super excited to talk about because there's a lot of, as we talked about, last year, continuously building momentum. Well, now we're seeing more and more signs of momentum. So it's kind of the first topic we'll get into today. We'll get into that. Then we'll talk about the importance of valuations. And then finally, we'll conclude with a startup that's ending funding in the next, I believe, 4 days. So we'll conclude that. I figured that'd be a good final topic to conclude on. I hope everyone's doing well. Update on myself. I've invested in 2 startups so far. So that's pretty exciting. I'm getting into the game, and yeah, I want to invest in more. So I'm planning on investing in more, planning on probably investing, it's probably around $500 in startups over the next month and a half, 2 months. Just kind of figuring out the process, understanding the process a little bit more, just because the best way for me to learn is by doing. So why not do this? Why not invest in these startups? And super excited to invest in these startups too. There's a lot of really, really good startups out there. I don't know if y'all saw, but I dropped an episode interview with Jaden Schaefer. He is the founder of AI Box, which is a no-code AI. It wants to be the app store for AI tools. Super fascinating. Just the workflow that you can create with using the APIs of different AI apps, create like a personalized workflow for you for whatever you want to accomplish. It's going to be a very big productivity booster, especially for enterprises. Like I can only imagine the impact it's had. But that interview I just released, that was I released that Friday, so Friday morning. So check that out on YouTube if you haven't. And then I also dropped an interview with Vincat on Monday morning. So Vincat is the head of product. He was an ex Google VP, now head of product at Art of Finance. And that was not they're not raising capital via Reg CF, but I wanted to talk to Vincat and just the insight he has with just building products, managing a team, creating company culture. It was awesome. A lot of great gold nuggets of just insight in there that I highly recommend people check out. But anyways, let's get to this week in crowdfunding. So this week in crowdfunding. So the first topic I wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about the media coverage on crowdfunding and equity crowdfunding. You know, there hasn't been a lot of media coverage on crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding. And if you look at everything that's kind of either become popular or every big market, they constantly have a lot of media coverage. It draws attention. It creates the attention. In essence, it basically helps build a demand. So the supply, the market naturally stays the same, but then the demand builds. So as the demand builds, then the market overall grows because more money is going to get pumped into it. The price increases, basically. So that's kind of the premise. If you looked at crypto, remember 21, 20, every single newspaper had talking about crypto. I mean, you look at the Wall Street Journal reading 2020, 2021, you couldn't look at the homepage without seeing a crypto article, without seeing something about FTX. So and then you saw how big it got, how much it just blew up. The overall just crypto industry, crypto market just swelled up, right? And so you also look at like real estate. During real estate booms, there's a lot of news coverage, right? A lot of news coverage. It continues to increase the demand. The more people get interested, more people start to feel like they have FOMO, more people want to invest in real estate, buy real estate. So that's kind of the entire process, is figuring out how to get more media coverage for crowdfunding, the crowdfunding industry and equity crowdfunding industry, because it will create great stories. And I think there's going to be a lot more to come in the future once there's exit opportunities, once companies go public that previously raised via Reg CF in the past. So that's the goal, to grow the crowdfunding industry, right? To get more news coverage. And this year has been really exciting because there's been some traction. There's been a lot more news coverage of equity crowdfunding, especially Q1 2024. And I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised, because usually it's some niche newsletters, some niche websites. But I'll just read a few. I'll show you the some of the news articles. But like, Motley Fool had a news article on, saying, what is crowdfunding. They posted that 4 days ago, which is massive. That's it's Motley Crew, or Motley Fool, my bad. Let's see right here. So here's the Motley Fool article, right? What is crowdfunding? They talked about crowdfunding. That was January 26, 2024. So that was literally less than 24 hours ago, right? That has to be, that's big. A media company publishing something about crowdfunding, that's really good for the industry, right? And then you look to more Business News Daily, right? They did equity crowdfunding, a primer, right? They wrote an article about this. Like, oh, okay, that was what, 2 weeks ago, a little more than 2 weeks ago. But then they also wrote another one. What is crowdfunding? They wrote that 11 days ago, so less than 2 weeks, right? So okay, that's good. It's Business News Daily, so that's really exciting. Then there's I found this Dice, equity crowdfunding equity, a good idea for developers, right? That was 3 days ago, so that's another news article, right? These are websites I haven't seen released crowdfunding news articles. I've been like searching, because this is the 12th episode of This Week in Crowdfunding, so we always search the internet and find new articles to talk about what's going on lately. These websites, they haven't been talking about equity crowdfunding or just the crowdfunding industry in general. So it's always exciting. It's always promising. But then we keep going, right? And we got Tech Bullion, right? And the rise of equity crowdfunding, how startups are revolutionizing fundraising, right? That was what, 4 days ago? Yeah. So that's another another great article, some more attention. But we got more, right? We got securities.io, right? The five best companies crowdfunding on WeFunder, right? So not only is it just an article on the overall industry, but now they're pointing out five best startups that you can invest in on WeFunder. But wait, there's more, right? Now we got the five best companies crowdfunding on Start Engine, right? Another great article from securities.io. And my favorite, we have Medium that posted how equity crowdfunding transforms startups, inspiring case studies. So this is Doxy Chain. I don't know. We did an interview with the Doxy Chain CEO. Fabulous. Doxy Chain is trying to revolutionize the crowdfunding industry via blockchain, so it's easier to make transactions, and that's super exciting, right? But that's, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight articles in just the past like 2-3 weeks, and these are articles that usually don't talk about equity crowdfunding, don't talk about the crowdfunding industry in general, and some of them are pretty big news outlets. So super exciting, right? And if we go back to the the original kind of thought processes, how can we get more news, more media talking about this industry, right, in order to help this industry go? That's what we need to do, and that's what we're trying to have happen, because the more news coverage we get, the more attention this industry will get. And as the industry gets more attention, naturally that will cause more demand, and hopefully also too more supply from the startups that want to raise capital, and also increase the quality of startups. So now we start to see better and better, like even better. I mean, dude, there's already really good startups that are raising capital, but I mean, it could get better, right? What if we start getting some of the best startups because they want to raise equity crowdfunding because they see the importance of building a community. And Paul Graham, he has a quote where you don't want to sell to 100,000 customers that kind of like your product. You want to sell to 100 customers that love your product, that advocate for your product, that are so passionate about your product. And this is what equity crowdfunding does. It turns customers into investors into advocates. So why would you not want to go this route? It's a great go-to-market strategy, right? You raise capital, turn customers into investors into advocates, and then with word of mouth, the cost to acquire a customer is zero because it's word of mouth. So you don't have to worry about it. You just have to deliver a great product to those 100 customers, and then it'll spread. That's what Airbnb did, right? Now look at Airbnb. I'm pretty sure I was listening to a podcast with the Airbnb founder, and he said that they make the same amount of revenue as, like, it's something absurd. Like, if they were a country, they would be top 15th country revenue wise. Something like that, insane stat. But Airbnb is a massive company, and they started with the same mindset of focus on the first 100 instead of trying to serve everyone and have a product that like 100,000 people want. Just focus on what product that 100 people want, and then make them absolutely love it, and then go from there. And once again, equity crowdfunding is a great way to do that because you turn customers into investors into advocates. So enough of my spiel. Now on to the next topic. So the next topic we got it was Foresight. So Foresight, they raised money via crowdfunding at a 31.5 pre-money valuation. They raised 600,000, and they recently got acquired by GoPro. It was a GoPro takeover. It was for an undisclosed amount, so we can't find it. But there's been news that the shareholders suffered an 87% loss, and that was coming after a big Q4 from Foresight, Q4 2023 news that Foresight had a $9 million deal signed with Tucker Power Sports, which is one of the largest, I think, motorsports, maybe Australia. So that's definitely it's news where this made me kind of remember it's when there's a loss like that, it's you have to understand valuations when you invest. And full disclaimer, I don't know much about valuations. My goal for within the next month to have someone on, an expert, to come on This Week in Crowdfunding, talk about valuations, talk about how to evaluate different startups, kind of metrics you might use, whether there's like a certain industry benchmark for multiple for revenue, you name it. just figure out how to better evaluate and come up with valuations for startups, because I think that's one of the biggest problems. And being able to identify that, you can then more or less calculate how, not how risky the investment is, but the probability of a startup succeeding or you actually getting somewhat decent return. And by decent, I mean, the difference between a 10x and maybe a 5x return. That's a lot, but it's significantly more when you think that, investing in startups, like angel investing and venture capitalists, it's a game of the power law. So you want to increase your chance of getting a 10x investment, 100x investment as much as possible, because only basically 3 out of the 30 investments you're going to make they're really going to carry the portfolio and the portfolio returns. That's how the power law works. So I'm trying to really focus on that. I'll have an expert on, and I wanted to show you this is a chart of Instacart. I'm sure everyone's seen this, but I find this fascinating. It's a great reminder to me. Just if you look at this is Instacart's when they raised capital. So they went public. They IPO'd at 9 million, right? So they IPO'd at 9 million. Okay, so the seed round, right, raised at, I think, 9 billion. So that'd be 75 million, right? And you see the rate of return 75, so bridge, and then 930, and then 4 billion, and then 5 billion, 6 billion, 9 billion, 14 billion, 15 billion, 18 billion, 39 billion. So, and now you can see, okay, so the return on the IPO price, right? Okay, 55%, 60. So if you invested between 2012 and 2014, you made a lot of money. But if you invested after 2014, just because the valuation got so high, you ultimately ended up losing money. Not technically, I mean, you still made money, but losing money compared to investing in just the S&P 500 and having that compound over that time period, right? So I think that's the biggest thing to note, is that the importance of the valuation. So if this was 3 billion, it probably would have been a good investment because it would have beat the S&P 500. It was 4 billion, and they ended up, it wasn't a good investment. So I look at this, and it's a constant reminder that it's not whether or not you want to invest in the startup, but you have to also think, okay, is it better to kind of does the valuation offer me an opportunity to 10x or 100x my money? And if so, then kind of come up with a probability. Then also too, thinking about, okay, well, what would my return be if I invested in the S&P 500? And so then it kind of creates more of a opportunity cost approach, instead of, do I want to invest in the startup or do I not want to invest in the startup? So the goal is, within the next month, I'll have an expert on to really figure out the valuations, because I think educating myself, I'll just speak for myself, educating myself more on valuations, how to approach certain startups, how to evaluate certain startups, is extremely important. And I don't know enough about it at all to be extremely confident in the investments I make, and to know that the valuation is right, close to being right, close enough, right, in the same ballpark, or completely off. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Hopefully everyone else, hopefully I'm not the only one. I don't think I am the only one. I think other people want to have an expert come on, talk about valuations. I think that can help the industry as a whole. The more information, the more we educate people, the better it will be. So yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing. And so that's the second topic. Oh, and then for everyone curious, Foresight. Foresight is a leader in small motorcycle technology dedicated to enhancing the motorcycling experience and promoting rider safety. So, fun story, how Foresight got started was not a fun story, unfortunate story, but I guess it ended up having a good twist to it. Was that the Foresight CEO, he was riding his motorcycle, and then he ended up slipping because when he went through an oil spill, and then ended up getting really badly hurt. And he thought, I want a technology that can kind of identify these oil spills and wet spots so that it can prevent other people from getting hurt and like the motorcycle slipping in the future. You know, he created foresight. So yeah, pretty cool. And on to the last and final topic. So, PSYONIC, they just raised, not just raised, but they're closing their round in the next 4 days. So, let's see, let me pull it up. So they're raising on Start Engine right now, and I had the founder Adele a deal on last fall, and yeah, he's I love the interview. Go check out the interview on YouTube. It's closing in 4 days. Basically, they're creating the bionic hand, and it's the first multi-touch sensing bionic hand. It's quite fascinating. You know, he had the bionic hand and he showed us it, and it was really cool seeing it live in the interview and seeing it move around. And, you know, it's absolutely fascinating. Interesting thing is that they have partnerships with NASA and Meta. So, you know, they're not only working on bionic hands for amputees, but also there's another route they could go where it's, you know, creating the hand for humanoid robots. Which, side note, I think humanoid robots is going to be the first $1 trillion market. I don't think that's that much of a hot take anymore, considering you look at kind of where the future is going to go. It's absolutely humanoid robots. I mean, go look at Brett Adcock and what he's doing with Figure, Elon Musk, what he's doing with Tesla, with Optimus. That's the future, and it's going to be an absolutely massive market. I guess a hotter take would be, I think there's going to be just as many humanoid robots as are people, you know, 15, 20 years from now. Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. But anyways, back to PSYONIC. So they make advanced bionic technology. So check out their page, but it's pretty interesting. So look, you can, I didn't realize, but a problem that amputees often have with bionic hands is that they're super fragile. I never knew that, but they're super fragile, and then if they do kind of work, it, you know, lots of cords, bulky, they really struggle with sensitivity. So if you see in this picture, you know, grabbing a little tomato to then throwing a baseball to then cutting a log with a chainsaw to washing the dish, you know, I take it for granted a lot of times because I don't, you know, it's just a hand. It's just like, oh, here's a dish, washing the dish. But, you know, really understanding the different sensitivities you have to use when grabbing something fragile, or then grabbing the baseball and throwing that, to then picking out a little tomato, to then, you know, really gripping the chainsaw really hard and then cutting the log. You know, those are all different levels of sensitivity and grip that we take for granted just because it's a muscle memory. But, you know, when you're an amputee and it's a robotic hand, it really has to be trained. So there, I think the first hand with multi-touch sensitivity. So the fascinating thing with this is that it's kind of connected. I think the way they have it, they have little sensors connected, I guess, to above the elbow, and so the arm can feel kind of your muscles twitch as if the amputee had a hand, and then move as if the hand was there, which is quite fascinating. It's like, I don't know what the science is behind it, but it's really cool. It's also a lot lighter too. I didn't know that. You know, that's another pain point that amputees have, is that bionic hands are sometimes really heavy, not durable, and not water resistant. So they close in 4 days. It looks like they've raised $2.6 million, have 1,700 investors. Dr. Deal is super down to earth. I believe he's a really good guy. I haven't met him in person, but from the interview, he was absolutely phenomenal, super genuine. He's in San Diego because it's kind of in the triangle, and then wants to, you know, he wants to really, really build and then create a nice community for the amputees, the people that need prosthetics, and to really expand the industry, and also to make San Diego kind of the new home of people who need prosthetics, and to really help out and really innovate that industry, which is awesome. And you know, I always love when people are mission driven. It's very inspiring. So yeah, you can see the hand move. That's pretty cool. He did on the interview, he did it live where like Brendan was moving his hand like that, and then the bionic hand was reflecting, mirroring what Brendan was doing with his hand was fascinating. So yeah, the TAM $15 billion. The SAM is $2.8 billion by 2030. Um, yeah. So, anyways, that's that. I think we'll be. I think that's it for this week in crowdfunding. Any topics you want us to cover in the future, let us know. I want to start having more guests on. So anyone listening who wants to come on, who's an expert in either crowdfunding, knows understands valuations of startups, I would love to have you on to talk about it and to really help educate everyone. And I have an interview coming out Monday, so check that out. And then hopefully another one coming out Friday. So super excited. These interviews are great. Go check out the past interviews if you haven't yet. We're really, the goal is to continue to interview these founders, continue to get more media and more coverage out there to grow the overall industry. I think I want to believe that 2024, I do believe 2024 is going to be a great year, but I think it's going to be a really good year. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. I am always an optimistic optimist. So yeah, just disclaimer, but I do believe it, and I'm gonna do everything in my power, whether it's interviews, to really just interviews, this live stream, right? Getting some more of my friends in to really just get more people involved and get more people to know about this industry, because I think this is a massively untapped market. There is so much potential in it, and even if you, I mean, it ranges from everyone who wants to be an investor to people who just want to who love startups, right? That's really how I got into it. I love startups. I've always been fascinated in startups, and then just to have the opportunity to be able to invest, how exciting is that, right? I'll listen to all in here, Jason Calacanis, Chamath, David Sachs. They talk about investing in all these startups, and I'm like, oh, wouldn't that be cool if I could do that? But I don't have the deal flow. Well, now here's this great opportunity, equity crowdfunding, right? You go on these platforms. You don't need the deal flow. The deal flow is there for you, for anyone to invest, right? Credited, non-accredited, you name it, you can invest. So that's how I got into it. And I know I'm not the only one. I know there's a lot of other people out there. And I think, by the end of this year, everyone's going to be pleasantly surprised and happy about the growth in this industry and what's to come in the future. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and see you next time on This Week in Crowdfunding. So long.